Well, if anyone has any problems with this marriage, speak now or forever try and bait the bitch who is also trying to bait you. This was a fun episode. Tony and Ziva, Season 1, Episode 4, titled Wedding Crashers. So I want to talk about a few things before I talk about this episode in particular. I know a lot of people noticed, wait, didn't my review of the first 3 episodes get split into 5 parts? Yeah, so I did, I want to set the record straight what happened when I tried reviewing the first 3 episodes, when I initially posted my review for the first 3 episodes. I wanted it to be one particular video, and my computer was deciding to be an asshole to me and say, your video is way too long. But the computer says videos are typically way too long when they hit 5 hours. So I was having to struggle with the computer. Luckily, I had to legit split it into five different videos. I then decided to download all 5 parts and put it in one consecutive video. Unfortunately, there was some technical difficulties. As I did rewatch the video in particular, I don't know if you noticed, but you'll see particular just blackouts. It'll go to the video, then maybe for a millisecond, you'll see a black space. That's why it was my videos. Yeah. So I was doing with the computer. See, that's why those blackouts happen in my first video. That was not supposed to happen. But hey, I know. I kind of knew that the first video was gonna be long because I had to kind of explain a little bit of Tony and Ziva's past and their backstory, and I kind of had to talk about the first 3 episodes. I'm gonna talk about some stuff from the first 3 episodes I kind of forgot to mention, and that's kind of an error on my fault because I knew these stuff were gonna come back in future episodes, and my dumbass just was like, bleh. So there are a couple things that I do need to talk about before I talk about this episode in particular, so yeah. There's another thing. I just realized I said c'est la vie wrong in the first video. It's actually c'est la vie, not c'est la vie. So, that's me not knowing a damn thing about French. I'm surprised I pronounced l'amour et poisson correctly. But, hey. But, oh well. So yes, that's kind of an error on my fault. I did realize that. So, it's c'est la vie, not c'est la vie. Can you tell I don't know a damn thing about French? So, there are a couple things I did forget to mention on the last couple of episodes. And that's kind of an error on my fault. So, I'm going to briefly talk about a few things from, a couple episodes. It might take a little bit of time, but yeah. So, again, if you haven't seen Tony and Ziva, if you haven't seen the new episodes, massive spoiler warning. I will go into whole-on spoiler territory. Just want to let you know that now. So, if you want to see Tony and Ziva, the first 3 episodes, or episode 4, Wedding Crashers, probably skip this video, and then come back. Skip this video, watch episode 4, then come back. Now, let's talk about it. So, I forgot to mention 9.4, because that is kind of an important thing. My brain just blanked out on 9.4, and I should have mentioned it, because it is important. So, how, Martine, played by Nassima Benchicou, again, I don't know how to pronounce, so that's fine. Because I did mention that she does cyber attack Tony's security company, and she transfers funds, through Tony's account and making it look as though he laundered 115 million euros. But how she does that is that she steals a little, like, domino-sized chip called 9.4. 9.4 is essentially the MacGuffin of the show. And 9.4 is a device, a hacking and tracking device that will transfer funds illegally for no reason, and like that, like legit, illegally. I don't know what I was gonna say something. My brain just farted on me. So because of that, Martine does steal 9.4. So in this and so that's sort of how she transferred the funds, made it look as though Tony was laundering a whole bunch of euros into his company. So because of that, there's that. She also is tied with this billionaire. She's tied with two different people, to be clear. There are background noise. Just want to let you know that now. So she's tied with two different people. One person is Henry. I forgot to tell you, and Martine is also a corrupt Interpol agent. Forgot to mention that part too. So that's the fun notice. Unless the show's just gonna reveal to us that she's not an Interpol agent, which if that does happen, boy is Tony and Ziva fucked, because it's gonna escalate problems even higher at that point. So she's tied with Henry, a person that has been in really good contact with Tony and Ziva. In fact, he even hosted Tali's birthday party when she was like, I don't know if they said if she was 7 or 8 or something. So because of that, for a long time, Tony, Ziva, and Henry were friends. Well, it turns out that Henry has been working sort of closely with Martine, and so and because of that, Henry does kind of believe that Tony and Ziva did what they have been framed for. So that's why he issued a red notice. I think he issued a red notice because Martine told him to, not because, like, I think a bit of him still believes Tony and Ziva, but because he has been working with Martine, I think she's been trying to get in his head. I don't know, maybe Henry's a full-on douchebag and an asshole, and my brain, I'm just hoping for him to be a good guy. I don't know. But she's also tied with, this guy, this billionaire. Hold on a second. I'm trying to remember his name. Tony and Ziva. It was Sean Pertwee's character. Pertwee. Let's see here. Sorry if I'm getting too close. Not the new... Okay, so Aaron Graves, that was his character. Aaron Graves, who is a billionaire, essentially. He has his company, whose company I just forgot. It was like, what, Raining Fire? I have the windows open. I just realized how, white I look with my windows open. By all means, take that out of context. Aaron Graves. Fuck. Aaron Graves. Name due to the premiere. Okay. Yeah. He has a company, and I forget the company's name. He's a defense contractor. God damn it. Was it Raining Fire? Fuck. Hold on a second. This does not want to be nice to me. Fuck. I think it's like raining something. I literally watched the episode and they said the company's name for the first time, and I cannot remember. Yeah, Raining Fire. That's it. Okay. I'm going to close this window. That's not helping. Maybe it's just the light. I don't know. Maybe it's because I have the light on. I don't know. But he has this company called Raining Fire, and he pretty much builds drones. Well, what happened was Henry stole a drone, and the drone is the drone is like a security tracking device drone, and Henry stole it, and he framed Tony and Ziva for it. So to Sean Pertwee's character, Aaron Graves, he thinks that Tony and Ziva stole it, and because to Aaron, Tony worked for NCIS, and Ziva is an ex-Mossad agent. So to him, he's like, well, clearly these assholes did it. They clearly have the talent and whatnot to do this. So that's going on in Aaron Graves' head. So not only are Tony and Ziva chased by Interpol agents, which Martine and Henry just so randomly work for, they're also being targeted by Aaron Graves. So, we haven't seen a whole lot of Aaron Graves. We only saw Aaron in one episode, and that was the third episode. But, to me, it just seems like Sean Pertwee is trying to play a Crowley-type character. Have you ever seen Supernatural? Which, by the way, as of recording this, today is the 20th anniversary of Supernatural. So, I want to put that out there. But anyways, but Sean Pertwee in that one episode I saw, he just looks like he's trying to play Crowley, especially with how loud Crowley can be when he's angry. Like, just, he can be Crowley when he's getting angry, he can get angry and loud for no reason. Like, to me, I feel like he's playing more of a Crowley-type character than he was an Alfred-type character from Gotham. Am I the only one who's getting that? Probably just me. But, so, there's that. And then there's a couple other characters I kind of briefly touched on, but not very. I want to see, hold on, I have to look up who plays them, because I'm going to forget. And I actually know how to pronounce one of the characters now, names now. Boris and Fruzsi. Boris, played by Maximillan Osinski, and Fruzsi, played by Anne-Marie Waldeck. So Boris is a hacker, a well-known hacker in France, and I don't think he has. I feel like he has something. I'm pretty sure they said it, and I don't remember, but he had something to do with the creation of 9.4 and the development of the chip. But he is also going to get married to this woman named Fruzsi, who is a bit ditzy and, yeah. Ditzy is what you would call a stereotypical white girl, only she's French. I don't know. That's probably not the best terminology. I don't think that's a great wording of how I should have said that. But yeah. So, but like, and they're trying to get married. But with the stuff that's going on between Tony and Ziva, they literally told Boris, who's a well-known hacker and a well-known criminal in Paris, they said, hey, we're fucked. We have no one else to turn to. We hate it, but we need your help. At first, Boris is like very reluctant because he's like, I don't want to work for you, because he knows Martine, he knows who she is, and she's like, if you fight this lady, you're not gonna win. But then Martine crashes into his house, and so they kind of have to have Boris and Fruzsi join them. So I'm liking Boris and Fruzsi, and they also tag in Claudette, who is played by Amita Suman. And Claudette is also a really interesting character. I'm really liking Claudette. What I'm really liking about the show as I continue it is I'm liking Claudette, Boris, and Fruzsi a lot more than I thought I was going to like them. I thought she was just going to be that stereotypical straight character that was like, hi, I'm here. And, yeah, she kind of is, but she's also very smart. She knows when things aren't right, and she's actually she's a character that I feel like once we continue, she's gonna be more fleshed out. For now, she is just a straight character, but as these episodes progress, she's getting more fleshed out. Same thing with Boris and Fruzsi. They were kind of a straight Jane plain couple within the first 3 episodes. But with this episode, which I'm going to talk about, Boris and Fruzsi, as I've watched the show, Boris and Fruzsi, that couple is getting more fleshed out as I watch it. And that's what I'm really loving about these new characters, is that these characters could have just been just straight and whatnot. But they're getting more fleshed out as we watch them. I mean, yeah. So, but sorry, I'm getting the sniffles today. I'm just now getting over my fall allergies. It's raining, so I think I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. But, alright. Whatever. But, these characters could have just been strain, plain Jane characters. Not really anything interesting, but they aren't. They actually have something of importance and something of value to them. And they actually have motivation. And that's what I was kind of worried that they were going to be the opposite of. Boris and Fruzsi, I wasn't really interested in them at first when I saw the first 3 episodes. Now I'm interested on this couple. Because they are so weird. They're off color some of the times. But I'm liking it. And that's kind of what I think about it. But yeah. Anyways. What was I trying to say? Oh yeah. And for the longest... Yeah, now I remember what I was trying to say. So throughout the season, Boris and Fruzsi have been trying to plan a wedding. And Claudette has been saying, no, you should hold off on the wedding. You guys are kind of on the run. Interpol agents are on our ass. You guys should just hold off the wedding. And Boris and Fruzsi, they're like, no. We're in love. We want our wedding done now. We already booked everything. We want to get married ASAP. And then that was until Tony thought of a plan. And that was, hey, what if we lure a trap for Martine and for Galimard, who is played by Emmanuel Bonami? Yes, I actually got one right before even seeing the cast list. Yay me! I actually got a cast right without having to. Okay, I guess I kind of got Amita Suman before. Anyways, but so they're thinking, what if we set a trap for Martine and for Galimard, and we still have the wedding, but we lure the trap for Galimard and Martine. And so what happens is that Tony tries to pretty much hack Henry's cell number so he can text Martine through his cell number, and Martine can respond. So that way, once that happens, it's like, trying to think. I know what happened. Hold on a second. Words are not kind to me, so I'm trying to... Sorry. I also should do this. Okay, kind of talk about that. Hold on. Okay. So they want to try and hack Henry's cell number so Tony could talk to Martine, but Martine, she just thinks that she's talking to Henry, which is obviously not the case. So that way once the wedding's done, they can have like the old showdown and hopefully get 9.4 back. Well, that's kind of doesn't happen, because what happens is Martine, she decides to bait them while they bait her. So it's like, it becomes sort of a baiting war. So what happens is that she orders Galimard to take Fruzsi without Tony, Ziva, Claudette, or Boris knowing. And she also orders Henry to bash in on the wedding. So, and so all of them have, so there's this whole big showdown that happens. And that's pretty much the whole episode. They have a whole showdown of Tony and Ziva baiting Martine, while Martine baits Tony and Ziva. So it becomes like a baiting war. It's essentially this episode. Eventually they do get 9.4 back. How? Because after Tony fights Galimard and throws Galimard off a building and Galimard lands onto a river, apparently 9.4 fell out of his pocket, in the ocean. So Claudette got 9.4 back. So, and by the way, is Galimard still alive? Yes. I don't know how. Tony literally pushed Galimard off the building. Galimard lands in the ocean. And at the very ending of the episode, Galimard just comes out of the ocean and be like, well, that didn't hurt me one bit. I'm like, the fuck? You fell like 5 feet. How the hell are you still alive? Like, then again, this is NCIS. With NCIS, kind of have to expect the unexpected, so, I don't know. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can turn off my light, see if that makes any difference. I still look white as hell. Anyways, again, take that out of context. So, yeah, so there's that. So we kind of talked about that, and then there's some other stuff I want to talk about too. See, I put a list here. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the park scene, because this could come up later. So in the show, we do often get like certain flashbacks or memories, I guess you shall say, of back in like early 2020 or back in early 2021. And that's when Ziva is like remembering old parts or whatnot. And recently, Ziva was remembering one portion in June of 2020 where, so they had told Ziva that they were practicing stranger danger, like tips and whatnot. So Ziva noticed that this lady was giving Tali a cupcake. Ziva, with her massage training and NCIS training, she suspected of this being not good play or whatnot. So she came in, she ran there, and she said, "No, no, 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 no. Tali, don't eat that cupcake that this lady is giving her." And then Tony comes in and he's like, "Ziva, that's Celine's mom. Celine is a friend of Tali's at school." And then, so Celine's mom, so by the way, we never met Celine. And then Celine's mom is played by someone, I don't know. I don't think there'll be important characters later on. But, yeah. So there's that. So, and Ziva feels sorry because she was so used to, because she's wanting to protect her daughter, and she felt very terrible and bad at the fact that she just did that, especially with Ziva. Wow, 26 minutes in. Not Ziva, especially with Tali there. And so he's like, you were trying to protect her. It's not that big of a deal. And eventually we see later on that Tali actually gets a nightmare. And that nightmare is that a scary old witch gives her a poisoned cupcake. And she said, sort of like Snow White. So, and Tony and Ziva just tell her, it was just a dream. Don't worry. And she's like, okay. And then another bombshell gets hit. So, this is what I mean by I am going to go on full spoilers. I'm going to go on full goddamn spoilers. Because this needs to get addressed. This fucking needs to get addressed. So, apparently, after that happened, Ziva literally told Tony, I can't do this. I can't leave my daughter's life. I can't do this anymore. Tony said, no, stay with us. At that point, Tony was hesitant. You could tell. Tony was hesitant about something. And he said, I've been thinking this over. I don't know if I wanted to do this. But I do. I do now. And Steve was like, what do you want to do? Then Tony hands out a ring. Not just any ring, the ring, the promise ring. The Denozo promise ring. And for die-hard NCIS fans, you know what this goddamn means. The promise ring was something that, in the original show, the Denozo promise ring was a ring that was passed down to every heir of the Denozo family. And it was a ring that it was their own wedding ring, essentially. It was passed down to every heir of the Denozo family. And the Denozo promise was that they would only use it if they meet a woman or just meet like person that they fell in love with or like they're a spouse or like a partner that they love in. And they would propose with that ring. Tony's dad had commitment issues because Tony's dad was divorced many times. And it's a ring that usually in the Denozo family, you get it once you turn 21. But his dad didn't give him it until he was in his late 20s. because his dad had commitment issues, and he didn't want Tony to follow through with the commitment issues he had. So when I saw that Tony had gotten that Denozo promise ring, I knew what was going to happen. And what the fuck happened? Tony proposed to Ziva. And what did Ziva say? Yes. Here's the thing. Back in, what was it, episode 2 or episode 3? So, Tony proposing to her, this happened in June of 2020. Going back to current day, September 2025, Tony and Ziva are still not yet married. And there was a scene when Tony and Ziva first met Boris and Fruzsi. Fruzsi said, "We've been planning our wedding for so long. Have you two ever planned a wedding?" And you could tell in that one scene, Tony and Ziva are like, and they just didn't answer the question. They were hesitant. Only question is, why? Why is Tony, who's so sure that he wants to marry Ziva, why has he kind of stepped back and not even started the wedding process? There's something going on, and I don't know what it is. Because it's obviously not the Nicole situation. Because Ziva didn't know anything about the Nicole stuff until episode 3. And, she didn't even know who Nicole was until he met Nicole. So it's obviously not that. It's obviously something else. Because if I remember correctly, I think Michael Rifkin... Rifkin's dead. Pretty sure. Why am I even asking myself that? Yeah, he died, yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna waste that Google search, because there was an episode where Tony shot him. Never mind. So, yeah, not Rifkin. I don't know. I don't know. Something's up. I don't know what. But anyways. And on the ending of the episode too. Sorry, I'm trying to erase things because I have a list of stuff I want to talk about in this video. And at the very ending of this episode, once Galimard takes Fruzsi, Ziva has to pose in as Fruzsi. So she puts on the wedding dress. The veil covers her hair, not her face, but her face looks like Fruzsi, so it was like, eh. But when she's in the wedding dress, after the whole thing at the end of the episode is done, Ziva told Tony and said, "Hey, can you help me get this wedding dress off? This thing is like a damn death trap." The dress that was meant for Fruzsi. And yes, they do, of course, rescue Fruzsi. Let me get that out of the way. And so Tony's like, "Sure, I'll help." And what do? They go at it. And it's not until Fruzsi catches them and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even know you were here." And Tony and Ziva was like, "Oh, let's go back upstairs." Because they were on the yacht, by the way. They went onto a yacht to go hide again. So, yeah. So Tony and Ziva might possibly get back together? there's an inking suspicion that I think that they're going to possibly get married at the end of the season. Possibly. But yeah. And, of course, they also go into another territory where once Claudette recovers 9.4, the little device, they also find out that Henry got his boss in prison. Not only did Henry frame Tony and Ziva, but he got his boss in prison. His boss in prison for something he didn't even do. We don't know what. And that will lead us to the next episode. So, I think this is a good episode. This was a fun episode to watch. I'm curious what's gonna happen next. Oh gosh. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens with everything. But yeah. Fingers crossed Sonny and Ziva gets married at the end of the season. Fingers crossed. I don't know. But, yeah, so that was episode 4, Wedding Crashers. Yeah, so this is kind of a shorter video, like, not even 20 minutes less than previous video. So, yeah. But, anyways, yeah, I have a lot of videos I want to see if I can try to do. I know I didn't do the Lilo and Stitch video last week. I'm gonna try to do it tomorrow. No promises. No promises, but I'm gonna see if I can try to do it tomorrow. Today's been a hectic day, guys. I've had so much to do today. So, hopefully I'll do Lilo and Stitch tomorrow. The reboot for Lilo and Stitch. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's all I really need to talk about as far as this episode is concerned. I'm interested to see where this goes. But yeah, I think this, honestly, so far this was a fun episode. I liked this. Well, I guess there is another thing I could kind of touch on. This episode really did remind me of, I know I bring the show a lot, Touch. There's an episode of Touch where, there's an episode of Touch, and it was in season 2. And it's honestly one of my favorite episodes of the show. I think it's called Ghosts, if I remember correctly. And that episode took place in only one location. And that was the news station. Or news... But yeah, news station, a publishing place. And that's honestly the most heart-pounding episode. And that's like one of the Touch episodes that when I watch it, when we finally get to the main resolution, it's like, ooh, okay, well, there's obviously got to be more, like maybe 20 minutes more. Nope, that's the end of the episode. That's how I felt with this episode. This episode, I mean, not including the flashback stuff, disregarding the flashback stuff, this episode only takes place in one setting. The church where Boris and Fruzsi are going to do the wedding. And boy, this episode felt quick. Like, this episode reminded me of that Touch episode. The season 2 Touch episode, Ghost. So, and I love those kinds of episodes where, even though the episode takes place in one location, boy does it go quick. So, but yeah. I don't know if there's really much I can add on. Yeah. Episode 4, Wedding Crashers. What did you guys think of this episode? I love it. I don't know. I think it's close to episode 2. I think this one's neck and neck with episode 2. Because I liked episode 2 mainly for the focus of the self-driving murder cars. That was just fucking terrific. I think I just spit on the camera. Whatever. But yeah, the self-driving murder cars were just fucking terrific, and I just loved it. This is like neck and neck with that episode. But yeah. So, let's go ahead. Man, I look so goddamn white. By all means, take that out of context. Let's do the next ZIVA-ISM of the review. I want to find... let's do this one. Okay. Ziva tells Tony this while in the, NCIS HQ. You might want to do something about your hair. It's sticking up like a porcuswine. Oh, wrong word. A porcu pig. The little animal with the little spikes. Yes. And McGee responds saying, porcupine? Ziva says, porcupine. Thank you, Very Special Agent McGee. Yeah. That's my ZIVA-ISM of the review. I don't know. I need to find good ones. So, that's been my Tony and Ziva episode 4 review. And when it comes to, especially with Tony and Ziva, l'amour est puissant. See you guys.